Hello, everybody. Hello. How has everybody been? Now, we got to test the sound. We don't want to be sounding crazy on here. We not even, the audio not even right. That would be awful, right? Let's see. Let's see. Test. Can y'all hear me? The microphones, they don't act right sometimes. Can you hear me pretty good? Sometimes I got to come on the mic while people coming in. All right. Just want to make sure. Now I'm not gonna waste no time with everything. So that sounds pretty good, but let's make sure. Testing one more time. I'm gonna swing you toward me real quick. I don't know. Then you know what would be the worst thing that happened? If this mic, just fail while I was live streaming. This is the audio. Y'all get to see everything. I'm just like. See what I did? I made it darker. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me pretty good. You can hear me pretty good. I like that. That sounds a little more crisp. All right. I don't know why I feel like I got to keep whispering, but I don't have to. So, okay. Disclaimer. Sorry about that. I had to troubleshoot some things as always. Wearing a lot of hats. I'm the engineer, I'm the producer, I'm the person you see, I'm the bookkeeper, I'm the Lord Jesus. Any and every under the sun. Y'all probably like my eyes are red. If y'all wonder why I'm not, the camera is up here, but my information is down here. So a lot of times I'll be looking down here and not up here. And so, where's my degree? Where is my degree? That's the first and foremost. Where is my degree? When someone can explain to me where my degree is, then we can get to the bottom of things. Until somebody explains to me what my degree is, I don't want to talk to nobody right now. They telling me it's in transit, I think the word is. Hmm. Disclaimer. The videos presented here are for informational purposes only. Therefore, if you are to choose to attend the institution, please do your own research and consult with a specialist at your institution that you're interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor representing any institution. Speaking on behalf, creator Henry is only speaking from his experience. I'm only speaking from experience with a whole bunch of data in front of me as well. With a whole bunch of data. You know, I don't like how y'all can see that Georgia Tech cup most of the time when I got my head tilted. I really might move after this live screen, that CTC one, because I'll be leaning to this side a little more since I'm on the mic. That CTC going on that side. Y'all need to see CTC more. Y'all don't need to see no Georgia Tech. Y'all need to see CTC more. 2-year college save the most money. That's the cup y'all need to see. Oh, the cup over there with the money in it. That's what y'all need to see. So I'm gonna get straight into it though. Like, you know. Do I have a video? I don't think I have a video this time. Outside, I'm chasing the ghosts. I don't know. All right. So just like the YouTube, just like the title says. Hold on, y'all probably like y'all can't see that. Let me see. I wonder why my screen went to the right. It went from that much. You see how that worked? All right. All right. So this person right here is named, I believe, Marion Benson. He says, I'm done holding my tongue at Morehouse College. So it's coming from him himself, his experience at Morehouse College. As I said before, we don't spare no schools. Every school can hurt a student. Every school can hurt a student. It doesn't matter what college you go to. If your school is not doing right, we're going to talk about it. We're going to speak about it. I'm going to speak on your behalf. Because some of you might can't say some of you might make $200K, $1 million a year. So you don't want to say too much publicly. So I'm going to say it for you, especially about your college at least. So I'm going to get into it. I actually might have to click on this for it to blow up. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's always stuff I have to deal with on this. Look, like, it should be showing. Let's see something real quick. Let me see something. This is awful. Now, if we zoom this in, I guess that's the furthest we can zoom in about this. Which is crazy. Whoa. What are you doing, camera? You just got dark because I turned my head. It's crazy work. That is crazy. How dark was I? I'm glad I wasn't talking when that happened. Yeah, so I can't make it that big. But what I'm going to do is I can show it to you this way so you know the post, so you know I'm not lying. So he said, I keep my name. He said, I keep it short. My name is Marion Benson. He said, for the past 2 years, I have been scraping to stay at Morehouse College. He said he has been scraping to stay at Morehouse College. He said, my story is different than most. He said, I first applied in high school and was admitted after mediating with my parents about the lack of financial aid. I chose to go to community college to save money and he said, I chose to go to a community college initially, right? Then he said to save money and try again. He said in August 2023, I transferred in as a sophomore. I didn't just want to have a seat. He said, I didn't just want a seat at the table. I wanted to be the only one in my family to go to college. A title, and then it says dash. I believe he ChatGPT this a little bit because ChatGPT usually put them dashes in there a little bit. But he says dash, a Title One will hold alone until the day I have children of my own. So he said the process of kicking the door in didn't stop at admission. When I arrived, I was immediately hit with a $13,000 balance for housing, despite being allowed to move in for NSO. Now, for me that don't know what NSO is, that is new student, I believe NSO, new student orientation, right? If I'm not mistaken. It can mean a multiple different things. Let me see. But it should, yeah, new student orientation. In higher education, NSO most commonly stands for new student orientation. Could mean something else, but mostly new student orientation. So he said that when I arrived, I was immediately hit with a $13,000 bonus, a $13,000 balance for housing, despite being allowed to move in for that new student orientation. He said for 3 days I ran. Now, why is this looking like this? Fix yourself a little bit. Come on now. You're embarrassing me on the camera. You're embarrassing me. We don't do this. We don't shift. I gotta fix that setting. So he said, I ran around campus. He said for 3 days, he ran around campus frantically, I'm gonna say frantic, trying to secure an extension or a payment plan. My grandmother, who never had the chance to attend college, believed in me so much that she risked her home to sign a loan for me. His grandma believed him so much she risked her own to sign the loan for him. My mother also stepped up, putting her name on the line to co-sign so I could stay at the school. So his parent had to sign off, like a car, sign off so you could stay on campus because 13 G's. Their sacrifices put a battery in his back. He just didn't study. He served as tutor, played rugby, and joined Morehouse First Gen 4 to help others. He said, I wanted to show the world that I was here to stay. Hmm. I didn't start reading, guys. I was thinking a little bit. Everything was quiet until last May when the institution informed upperclassmen we were being. Actually, I'm looking at this camera now. It's kind of bothering me a little bit now. Y'all see that green button up there? Anytime y'all see that button, oh my goodness. I read that okay. Okay. All right. I just I read that whole thing. All right. Now you can hear me. So now I got to put that in the timestamp. I was silent. I was muted for that whole time, and you couldn't hear me because I was fixing my microphone and I accidentally muted myself. Okay, who I did was it to put this on the top and not like right in here, I guess. No comment. All right. So, Marion Benson, once again, I apologize for the inconvenience of I read this whole thing and you cannot hear me. So, to help both of us out, and I spent a good minute, I'm going to read this one more time because I deserve to read it. Might be, yeah, it deserves. So he said, I'll keep it short. I already said his name. He said, I have been scraping, however you want to say it, to stay at Morehouse College. My story is different than most. I first applied in high school and was admitted, but after mediating with my parents about the lack of financial aid, I chose to go to a community college to save money and try again. So he said he wanted to save money, so he went to a community college his first 2 years. Then he says, in August 2023, I transferred in as a sophomore. I didn't just want a seat at the table. I wanted to be the only person in my family to go to college. A Title One, and then it says right here, go to college. A Title One I will hold until the day I have children of my own. The process of kicking the door in didn't stop at admissions. When I arrived, I was immediately hit with a $13,000 balance for housing. Despite, sorry about the darkness, guys, that camera is really focusing on me. Like it has to see my eyes or it's going to do that. And I blame my bro for that because I didn't have that setting problem until he did that. So I don't know what he did. I'm gonna have to ask him. I ran around campus frantically trying to secure an extension or a payment plan. My grandmother, who had never had a chance to attend college, believed in me so much that she risked her home to sign a loan for me. My mother has also stepped up, putting her name on the line to co-sign so I could stay. Their sacrifices put a battery in his back. I didn't just study, I served as a tutor, played rugby, and joined Morehouse First Gen Forward to help others. I wanted to show the world that I was here to stay. Everything was quiet until last May. When that kind of rhymes. Everything was quiet until last May. When the institution informed upperclassmen we were being waitlisted for housing to make room for the incoming freshmen, we were told to find apartments. But what college student can afford an $800 to $1,000 in monthly rent on top of being a full-time student? When I told my advisor I would have to step away until January to work, his only response was a cold good luck. For the past 6 months, I have been working full-time and balancing remote internships determined to clear my debt. By November, he said, oh, I didn't even notice that part, to clear my debt. He said, I have been working full-time and balancing remote internships determined to clear my debt. By November, I had paid everything off and was simply waiting for my spring housing decision. Then, just a day ago, I was sent another email stating I wasn't financially clear. I discovered that $4,000 in federal work study aid I was eligible for had been stripped away from my account for an unknown reason. When I asked why, I was told I had insufficient funds. A detail I found out that I never found out insufficient funds, a detail never mentioned before. I was raised to work hard and earn my keep, but I find myself asking, what is the point of putting everything in one basket, traveling out of state, and potentially going into debt just to keep hearing no? It is painful. It is a painful realization to feel that I was treated with more dignity and transparency at a community college than at the only HBCU for Black men. And it's not the only HBCU. And then it says, I'm sharing this because this isn't just his story or my story. This is his, but not just his story. Hundreds of students are likely facing the same lack of transparency and having doors shut in their faces. I respect the history of Morehouse, but there are too many politics within these gates that make the idea of dropping out feel like a constant shadow. However, let me be clear. No matter how long it takes, I will graduate. I don't know how the path will look, but God willing, I will walk that stage for my mother, my grandmother, and my future children. I will not be a what if story. Please share this to anyone who has had similar issues because we are stronger together. So the camera light should come in. So based on Marion's situation, I do want to be clear. Based on his situation, I felt this when I was reading it. I was actually doing military duties over the weekend and doing some other stuff, and I read it and I was like, dang, it happened again. It happened again. It keeps happening. I understand it's going to keep happening. That's why, that's why we started speaking on behalf, because we know it's going to keep happening. We know our kids are going to keep falling victim to student loans. They're going to keep going through these struggles. They don't have a real blueprint. The amenities blueprint that these universities have, it just does not work. Even if it's a HBCU, it's a PWI, it's a HSI, it don't matter what it is, it's going to keep happening. And how do we stop it? The only way to stop it is by, I'm not gonna lie, about sharing. You got to just spread the word about speaking on behalf and the YouTube channel, what we talk about. So I'm going to go through I'm going to actually decipher and break down some of the things Marion should have known. It's not his fault. Like he said, that's one thing about, I don't like the first gen word personally, but if you are first gen, you just don't know things. And that's unfortunate, because, we're trying to get the word out about speaking on behalf, how we can save you money in college and how you can thrive as a college student. But it just seems like it's getting harder and harder to, fighting the constant ignorance out there with TikTok, social media. We're on LinkedIn, and hopefully people can share us to social media, because we got banned off of Instagram. People say make a new account, but what if it happens again? Happens again, happens again. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm not thinking about it though. I'm kind of thinking about getting back on Instagram, kind of, because the kids need it. I know kids got Instagrams, and I know their principal or guidance counselor has an Instagram before they have a LinkedIn set up professionally, which is crazy to me. But so the first step Marion should have did, what he should have did was, he shouldn't have went to Morehouse personally. Morehouse has, I can actually pull them up real quick. For most people who don't know what Morehouse is a historical Black college university. College university, that's why it's called HBCU, because it's a college university in Atlanta, based in Atlanta, Georgia. The reason I'm showing you this is because a lot of people don't know what a HBCU is, especially if you are up north. You don't know. Some people up north, I know I'm taking a shot at up north people, but up north, shoot, some West Coast, if you ain't from the South, really, you don't know what a HBCU, because HBCUs was founded on the history of like African Americans not being able to go to college. So these were schoolhouses we were able to go to when education was not granted to us. And so the reason I say he shouldn't have went to Morehouse, and it's nothing against Morehouse personally, but realistically, it's the pricing. If you go look at Morehouse, and plus with all this federal stuff going on, schools like this are just more prone to get hit for some reason. That's not me. That's literally like data for some reason. It's just data. If you go in the Department of Education, you will find that data. But if you go look at the prices of HBCU, and the only reason I say this is because I didn't use the magnifying glass. I actually like how easy that was. And so let me see view the cost of attendance. So if you go on their website and you look at their prices, Morehouse literally has right here, I think this is for the year. Let me see, is this for the year? It says for 2025 to 2026. They literally show you the housing. So you divide that housing by 2, that's 11,000. So 11,000 divided by 2 is what? Like a 5, it's like what, 5,500-ish, so it's like 5,000 per semester, 6,000 if you want to round it. So that's how much you are looking at per semester. And then he said 13, but it probably rounded out, right? I don't know the kid's situation. But as you can see, the tuition alone is $30,000. And I don't think he had a problem with tuition personally. I think he had a problem with the housing. That's why I tell students that it goes based off your income when you go to these bigger schools like a Morehouse, a Ivy, any other school, right? Because Morehouse, I would assume, I never did a research, I never did a review on them, but a school like Morehouse has probably like the same, hopefully the same resources for students. But I always thought if a student came to me like Marion, if a student like Marion came to me as an academic advisor myself, came to me and telling me they don't have the money or funds, I'm like, what would I tell them? That's one of the reasons why I work at a 2-year college, because it's just easier to keep the retention rates in these times for these kids. Higher education is not providing, or not higher education, but at least the state we're in, because this is in Georgia, the state is not really giving enough resources and funding to the higher ed institutions to be able to give the resources to the students, if that makes sense. Because we rely on a lot of federal money, state money, local money. And so for this kid not to be getting what he needs is just like heartbreaking. But what I would have recommended to Marion if I knew him, I would have told him he should go to a state school that's more affordable than HBCU. And I understand if you want to go to HBCU like Morehouse with such great prestige, I really understand it. It's like probably his dream school, right? But my dream school is not worth my future being wrecked. So like that put a lot of stress on him. As he said himself, he was working full time, juggling the internship, and he joined what he said he did. He did something else in here. Give me a few seconds to find it. Was it? I didn't mean to do that, but I'll keep it up here. I'm looking for, he said he was doing an internship. Oh, okay. He said right here, I have been working full time, balancing remote internships, determined to clear my debt. And so that's why one of the times, if I was a Pell Grant student, I was a Pell Grant student. As a Pell Grant / Hope student, if you're in Georgia, you know what Hope is. If you're not, it's pretty much like if you live in another state and you got your secondary, that's our secondary. So it's like extra money. I always say like extra money. If we have if we have a 3.0 GPA, usually you get some extra money from your state. We have that set up. And so once I had the $7,000, as I always tell students, if you got $7,000 in Pell, if you are eligible for Pell and you get the max $7,000, you get 6, you get 5, you got to divide that by 2. And you got to find you a school that you can afford. I'm all about going to somewhere I can afford. So what that means, shop around. If I know what I know now, I would have shopped around at better institutions. If I'd have known how to break it down a little more. If I'd have understood financial aid a little more, I could have broke it down, but I did the best I could, and we came out on top, debt-free degree. So that was his first thing. That's the first thing he should have did. He should have never went to he should have went to a more affordable school. And as I said before, you see the cost of attendance here. But once again, if you break it down by financial aid, like a Morehouse or something, your aid usually gets decreased based on how much financial aid you're going to get usually. But like I said, you have to factor in the food and the meal plans. That's what kill a lot of students when they're on their journey to go to college, stand on campus. And then it's like, and then he said another part that we speak on. He literally hit every bullet point we talk about on saving money in college. Then he said, I'm gonna skip past it. Then he said right here, what college student can afford $800 to $1,000? That goes into another step we talk about. I would not go to a school in Atlanta. I did, but I knew I can work a full-time job for graduate school. Undergraduate, I was not trying to be in the big city unless I knew I was like any other student on the full ride scholarship. If I was on a full ride scholarship, then I would have went to a school in the city. If a school is in a city and you trying to stay off campus, if a school is in a city and you try to stay off campus, that's gonna make it real hard for you because Atlanta is not cheap. You're not gonna find very good, affordable apartments in a city. He's going to have to go to the outskirts. He's going to have to go to some places outside of the city of Atlanta, but his school is in the heart of Atlanta. That's just like if you went to school in California. If your school, your university is in the heart of California, for example, it's going to be hard for you to stay on the outskirts because the cost of California is just high in general. So he like, that's why I always said I went to school like in a small city technically. Now I used to always say a rural area. I thought Valdosta was a rural area, but apparently Valdosta, Georgia is a small city. And so when you go to a place that's more smaller, more convenient, you can get rent more affordable. I had 2 other roommates, didn't know them. But guess what? Man, my rent was like $300 and some dollars, 400 max. I can't make it up. I was running it up doing that. That's how you got to do it. You got to get roommates. You got to go where you can afford. You got to know your geographic a little bit. Shout out to geography. That helped me a little bit in college. I took classes I needed, guys. I never took classes because my friends were in them. Unfortunately, when you go to Title I schools, not many of my peers went to college. And they did go, but a lot of them didn't, we didn't go to college together. At least the ones I know that went. And so this is really life-changing information. And hopefully when we look back on it, it'll get some recognition. It'll get some only recognition for like people like Marion, man. The kids who getting ready to step into the workforce, who's still in college or just starting college, and they already getting hit at that wall, and nobody's giving you any tips on how to save money. And you're going to be like, where was this YouTube channel like 5 or 6 years ago? So let's keep going. So another thing was when, as we already talked about, he had $13,000 balance for housing. So you probably got to divide that by 2 because he probably was getting told that for the year. I hope it wasn't the semester. I hope it wasn't for one semester. I hope it was for the year. So when he got hit with that $13,000 balance for the year, that was almost that's like $6,500 because 6 plus 6 is 12. So $6,500. That's like he needs $6,500 for the semester. And he got hit with a $13,000 balance for housing. And that probably included his meal plan because the meal plan at Morehouse was $4,000. So yeah, I can see that. So when he got hit with that, how like what? So when he should have, he probably didn't know this. When he was at his 2 year, he should have talked to his 2 year, his academic advisor at his 2 year. He should have talked to somebody in the student affairs and asked them about articulation agreements. And then he should have went to a 2 year that had an articulation agreement. But it sounds like he went to a school because, like he said, he left. It sounded like he left out of state. And then went back, and he went and left out of state and went to Atlanta. So that's another thing I think he messed up at, because he said it down here in the he said it down here. What is the point of putting everything in one basket? Traveling out of state. He shouldn't travel out of state. You can't travel out of state and go to college, guys. Especially if you're the term they use, the first generation college student. Unless you're on a full ride scholarship and you know everything is going to be paid for, you should not go to school out of state unless you know everything is going to be paid for. You have a job set up through the school and all that good jazz, because it makes everything difficult on you. and then you just might end up going back home. Then that ends up going into one of the mental, going into one of the mental, I'm gonna just say one of the mental illnesses, out there. Like, I don't want to just say depression. I don't want to use a random, because that's naive of me, because I'm not in that field. That's why I bring somebody in who deals with a lot of college students who experience this real life mental illness, because a lot of students don't like when they realize they hit a wall or they fail and they have to go back home to their home state, or they had to drop out of school for a second, or they had to take a break from school for a second. That puts a lot on the college student, respectfully. And then it doesn't help when you got this thing called social media and then you still see your friends in college. It doesn't help that much. So that's just me breaking that down a little bit. This was muted at first a little bit, so I'm gonna put that in the timestamp. Like, hey, put that in the comments. I'm gonna put it in the comment section. Such and such is muted from this point to this point. Sorry, didn't know, guys. So I gotta do that. All right. But hey, he got 3,000 likes and loves, because I know I did. I know I did. I know I commented. I said, thank you for sharing this story. And I said, thank you for sharing this story. Then I said, Ed, speaking on behalf, you should cover this. Because he liked it. And he liked it too. And he liked it. So I think that's real, man. That's why I like LinkedIn right now. I get real college stories from real college students who are in real need. Sometimes they are really putting their stories out there. There's no, I don't know, it's just a different word on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, they're not shy. They're not like putting on a facade. It's real organic right now on LinkedIn, until, like every app, it gets messed up. So I just really like it and I admire it so much. Now, let's close this out. Put this back over here real quick. Stop sharing for a second. Let me see. So now we're going to talk about, no, it's not that one. They say college enrollment increased by 1% last fall. Oh, since last fall, college enrollment increased. I'm going to show you the data on that. And then they talked about international enrollment. And now I'm going to show you the power of, this was actually written back in November 2025. I think we covered this, now that I remember a little bit. But I think I couldn't show you back in November because I didn't have this set up. But real quick, international enrollment is down like a negative 17%. Just a quick saying for fall 2025, but we all know why, because that's how fast politics can kick in, guys. With the, like Trump administration, for example, remember when he was putting the ban on travel for international students or people trying to travel here and come to school, they couldn't get here, so that hurt a lot of colleges' international enrollment, which caused, what's that word? It caused the revenue to be down a lot. They rely heavily on that. But the more thing that was this recent article that I want to cover with you all real quick is enrollment ticked up 1%, as I said before, with most of the growth at community colleges. Hey, man, shout out to the community college, man. It just all love at a community college. And it's not me writing this, because I don't work at the Chronicle of Higher Education. I don't work there. And so they said 1% increase in total enrollment. It's crazy. Kids are not going to these universities. But shout out to the universities, because they do some great enrollment. And you would think, if you go on their website, we're number 1 at this, we're number 3 at that, we're number 5 at that, we're number 6 at this, we're top 10 at this. And I can't get mad at these universities. They doing their thing. They doing their thing. They getting you to go there, even though prices are crazy, even though it's not giving you a return on investment. They doing their thing. I gotta cut that. That hurts. Guys, I gotta get my nails done. I have not got my nails done in a while. Cause that'd be hurting. Y'all know, I forgot what it's called. What my nail technicians at in the chat. They be knowing about that. So enrollment ticked up 1% last fall, with most of the growth at community colleges. So public colleges drove higher. I'm glad we can see this now. Public colleges drove higher education's. Public colleges drove higher education's 1% increase in enrollment for the fall of 2025 over the previous year, according to the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center. I have that up here too. And so most of the increase was attributable to gains at community colleges, where the growth chiefly came from dual enrollment and certificate programs. A lot of college students do want that. You know, everybody's more hooked on dual enrollment right now. And they're like, oh, it's free. And I'm all for it. Only reason I don't like dual enrollment, and it's nothing against dual enrollment, I think it was just my high school. Dual enrollment wasn't offered to me. And I feel like if I'd have got dual enrollment while I was in college, I would have been sharper going into college, because I would have got college education. I just needed better teachers, man. Like, I had a few good ones in high school, but I needed better teachers, because when I got to college, I started doing a lot better. And it's nothing against them, but I have a thing about high school teachers. Could be in college, but definitely high school. When you go to school at a Title I school, guys, and most of your teachers have student loan debt, probably. And when they have student loan debt, they're working at a Title I school. Some of them are not generally working there because they care. But I'm telling you, a lot of them are working there because they're trying to get their student loans paid off faster. When a teacher works at a Title I school and they have student loans, it can be paid off quicker. If you don't believe me, I can ask ChatGPT right now. It's a simple Google search. Let me see. I could be wrong, but unless they change the law, I believe that's how it is. If you have student loans but work at, if you have student loans, do they get paid off faster by working at an title? So right here, and this is the AI overview, but it's probably going to lead us to the actual, I think, Department of Education. But it says right here, working at a Title I school can significantly speed up the student loan payoff through programs like public service loan forgiveness or teacher loan forgiveness, offering potential forgiveness after 10 or 5 years of qualifying service, respectfully, especially when combined with income-driven repayment plans for PSLF, making it faster by basing payments on income and forgiving the rest after 10 years. The Title I status itself does not automatically pay off loans. It often qualifies schools for these programs, enabling faster elimination of debt compared to standard repayment. But you must track payments carefully and meet specific criteria for either TLF, PSLF. And that's just an overview of ChatGPT, guys. That's just so that's why I have a thing about dual enrollment. I feel like I missed out on something, but everything happens for a reason, because I'm here doing this for you all until we, because I'm enjoying my 1 million subscribers, my 1 million views. You can't tell us nothing on these live screens. We rack in about 100K viewers every time we talk on this mic, so I gotta appreciate it. So yeah, let's keep going though. So we cooking now. Of the nearly 173,000 additional community college of the nearly 173,000 additional community college students this fall. About 66%, about 60, I'm the percentages in my head. About 66,000 were 17 or younger. That's a lot. The measure the center used to identify dual enrollment students. About 42,000 of the new students at community colleges were pursuing undergraduate certificate programs. Now that makes sense because a lot of parents and a lot of young adults are probably watching the news. And they're probably watching when Trump speak. They're probably watching when Trump speak. They're probably watching when somebody speak. And I know when you hear Trump, the Trump administration, but when you hear Trump, and they'll tell like one of his secretaries, they're pushing the idea that you should go get a trade. You should go get a trade. And right now that's blustering to your colleges right now if they offer that. And then as we keep going, they said, but the sector's 1% growth this year was uneven, said Matthew Hollis-Apple, senior research director for the Center with Public Institutions faring well white private colleges. But for-profit and nonprofit saw losses. Typically, he said, I think they're talking about private colleges right now, and they're talking about the for-profit and nonprofit of the private colleges, which we'll get more into. It says typically, he said, trajectories for four-year colleges tend to move in the same direction. But this year marked a clear departure where enrollment increased. Community colleges accounted for the vast majority of higher ed's total enrollment growth this fall. It says public four-year, right? Public four-year. Community colleges accounted for the vast majority of higher ed's total enrollment growth this fall. Public four-year looks like it went 92,156. But then it says right here, private nonprofit lost about 57,000 rounded. And then private for-profit lost about 11,000-ish. And then community colleges gained, and this looked like 173,000. Now, the source comes from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, which is very credible for higher ed. Why do I tell you all this data? Because the data lets you know where you need to go. It helps forecast where you should go, where you should major in. If we're talking about return on investments, if we're talking about where you should go to college, what's going on in today's higher education. Now, I don't know why nobody never thought about live streaming this and doing this. I don't know. But I love it because it's so helpful because I use it in real life. I did use it in real life. I didn't look at the data as much, but I guess you can say I used the real life data because I was working in a college, and then I'll get recommendations. I'll get information from higher ed professionals who was seasoned, like where this is going, where that is going, because they got doctorals. They're not just lollygagging. They're actually doing their work. So, and doing their research, letting you know like what job is popping, what's not popping, and like, hey, if you're interested in doing AI, you should probably learn that on a job first before trying to go to school for it, get the real life experience. And so let's get into the clearinghouse enrollment trends real quick before we even just to switch it up before we go back to the Chronicles of Higher Education article. So I was hoping for a graph. I think this is the graph. Is this a graph? Oh, it's a graph. I didn't know it was a graph in here. You guys need to see that. So I'm gonna have to be sharing this with y'all because I can't see it. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is gonna be a lot. I don't know what to expect on here. Navigate using the tabs at the top of the dashboard to see details for different institutions and different and student groups. So this is the same thing we were just talking about. This is the final fall enrollment trends. I see how I light up when I start talking about like the interest and stuff. So highlights from the final fall enrollment trends 2025 report. They said in fall 2025, there were over 19.4 million post-secondary enrollments. And pretty much 16.2 million of it was undergraduate, 3.2 million was graduate, compared to 19.2 million students from last fall. So last fall, they had about 19.2. They only went up about 19.4 million. They saw an increase in gains in undergraduate. They lost a slight decrease in graduate students. And remember, if you factor in like the economic things going on, like cost, they say everybody's been talking about inflation. I'm not the biggest economic person, but everybody's talking about inflation and all the other crazy rent prices, right? Cars are going up for expensive prices. So just an idea, right? And let's see the data real quick. I'm really curious to see how this gonna look. Yeah, this is interesting. I don't know how to read this yet. Let's see. Let's see if I can figure this out real quick while we're on the live screen. So total state enrollment changes. I don't know why they're showing Virginia. I'm in Georgia. All right, so Georgia, they said from previous change from previous year is pretty much 5%. Virginia 3.3%. So right here you can see from the previous year. Let me see. Georgia didn't have that. Did they have that? Yeah, but that's not broken down in percentage. Y'all see the distance from previous year? Not the distance, but the difference from previous year. They got 27,000, but here I'm just going back to what's this? I think that's MO Minnesota. That's Missouri. Lord, I said Minnesota. Missouri is they got a negative 49.14. Interesting. But Georgia got a lot of enrollment. Texas is huge. 1.6 enrollment. They increased by 4%, 2.5%. So that's like working. I know guys probably like, what is he talking about with the percentage? Gotta keep it relatable. So if I work at a higher institution and Georgia from the previous year had 4.9%, that means like our previous enrollment at local institutions, depending on what college you work at, probably was no higher than 4.9%. It could have went over that, but most institutions probably had like below 4.9% for enrollment, probably. So it's kind of cool to see that. Let's see. Let's go to what New York look like. 1 million. It's crazy. So now we're gonna get into major fields. Let's see. So you see, I always like to do this. You see the lowest like math and statistics, right? Math and statistics, it starts from 2020 and goes all the way up to 2025, like enrolling. Now, enrollment does not count as retention. What does retention mean? Remember when we do our end of the video review, and then it's more like you come back next fall semester. So retention is when you attend class your fall semester. A lot of you came back for spring, cool. But when you come back that next fall, like as a sophomore, for example, you're part of the retention that you stayed at the institution. And usually a college wants to know like what kept you here. It might be sports, it might be your friends, it might be the cafeteria, it might be the campus itself. So that's what all that means. But enrollment, though, that's just like who enrolled. And you could have left like the next day, even though you went to class, you could have left like the next week. That's where their retention gonna fall. So if you go from really can't start because it's 2021. Change from previous year was a negative 18. So they got business management. A lot of kids are at least right here. Like you see, it's like 1.5 million enrollment. But as you see, it's fluctuated, stayed around. It got the 1.7. And then as you see, it's slowly like the change from previous year. It gained 5.3% from 2023 to 2024. A lot of students are enrolling in business management. Business management, marketing, and related support. It's a very common major, right? Versus where you got people are doing mathematics and statistics, a very few of them are doing mathematics and statistics. And can I click on that? Oh, perfect. So mathematics and statistics, as you see, is like it had a bad year going into 2022. A bad year because everybody's not good at math and statistics. What say literally mathematics and statistics. Everybody's not good because right here from 2021 to 2022, it went to 7.2%. Nobody wants to do mathematics and statistics. So my idea is, for example, if you do like mathematics and statistics, you should get a job because not many people are doing it. Notice that I'm just being honest with you. Like I went to school for the liberal arts and sciences, general studies, and humanities. This is what I went to school for. This is what I got this is pretty much what I went to school for, from 2-year to 4-year to graduate school. That was my area. And as you can see, we don't have many people doing well in that, but a lot of people are doing it. But we enrollment wise, people are not enrolling in it. And then had a bad year right here. Then 2023, we slightly went positive a little, then went back negative 2024, then went more negative in 2025. So you see like everything, but if you look at the pattern of the data though, from top to bottom, you see negatives. Like in 2025, going from 2024 to 2025, you see negatives, which means that people are not enrolling in college, or at least these majors, but people are not enrolling in college. That's why they're saying like from fall, at least based on fall 2024 to 2025, that's what we're talking about. It hasn't really been a big jump in enrolling in college. It hasn't really been too crazy. So it says grad enrollments held steady. Okay. And that's really it. But overall, the person said the report was the final word from the center on fall's enrollment after its previous estimate in November, which reflected about half of the institutions that it tracks. Total enrollment across the sector, 19.4 million, has recovered from the steep declines amid the pandemic, but it has not come back to the 2011 peak of about 20.1 million. So we recovered from declines in the pandemic. Let's see what they're talking about. So they said declines. Is it more? Okay. So if we look in 2020, right? They said 2020. We can't see no data, right? You just see enrollment. We can't see like, oh, the previous year, what we look like in 2019 to 2020. They didn't put that in there. But if you look at the next year, still some negatives in there as well. So that's what made data fun, though. That's what made data fun. Let's look at this real quick. I want to see what this is. My favorite little, Clearinghouse love doing these little line graphs. I won't get into all that. That's the fun stuff, though. That's the fun stuff. So, what else do we have to talk about? What else do we have to talk about? I honestly think, let me see. We have some other stuff. Let me see. Let me see. I got a couple topics. Guys, I got a couple topics. I got apparently Vanderbilt sold their college. They said Vanderbilt has bought, I guess, acquired a California college. Nebraska chancellor has raised questions, and then has 5. We just talked about it, I believe. 5 enrollment takeaways. I think what we're going to do though, this screen doesn't have to be long today, not 2 hours worth. That's what we got Friday for tomorrow. I think what we're going to do is we're going to break down our college. And then we're going to break down our college. I believe we did break down. Yeah, we're going to break down a college. So let's see. What is... Y'all probably looking at me like, what? And I hate I was silent, guys. I hate that. I hate I was muted when I was talking the first time. I really hate that because somebody gonna be like, "Oh, you ain't even talking." I muted myself on accident. Oh, because I was trying to fix the light in, technically. Let's see. So a lot of people are really researching right now. Princeton, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, typical. Ah. We did these schools though. They always, how many people are really looking up Florida International University? Hey yo, let's do the University of Alabama right now. Let's do that. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. Let's do that. Where is the University of Alabama? Does anybody know where that's located? Tulsa. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So we're gonna do a review on the University of Alabama, where legends are made. That's what they say. Hey, the University of Alabama has a huge stadium, like a huge football stadium. I remember one time we were driving past there to go to a Mississippi game. I was going with my brother's dad to a basketball game for his daughter. Yo, it was ridiculous. Ridiculous how big that's. They had an NFL stadium. Why does a college have an NFL stadium? But we're gonna talk about this education though. All right, so the University of Alabama, they have about 32,000 student ish. You know, it's a 4 year. It's public. It's a city, or it's in a city. I don't know about Alabama, but it's in the city. And then it says they have over 15,000 undergraduates. That's what makes them a large institution. So they have a graduation rate of over 58%. They have a graduation rate that's over 58%. That's pretty good. It's a C average. Now, the fun part for this, they have an average annual cost of $22,000 to go here. That is including financial aid. And if you look at the return on investment, it is not that high. That is not that high. I don't know if they're basing that off of, sometimes I wonder, do they base that off of like if you stay in Alabama or if you go work somewhere outside of Alabama? Interesting. That's a good question, right? But I don't think they specify it in here. It says federal aid 10 years after entering college. So I don't know why they word it like that either. Somebody should tell them not to word it like that. So we're gonna look up the costs. Remember, always go to your magnifying glass. Every college has a magnifying glass. All you gotta type in is tuition and fees. And then when you type in tuition and fees, it's search. The cost of it's always gonna be either cost of attendance, tuition rates, or enrollment. It's many options. We're just gonna click this right here. cost of attendance. So then when you do the cost of attendance, you get to the 2025, 2026 cost of attendance. Table below is used to determine the eligibility for federal funding. Then we just go down, go down. This is what you always want to find. Now, remember what I tell you guys. Never go to school out of state. Why? Look at the tuition. The tuition is $35,000 pretty much just to go there. Off tuition for being out of state. Everything else looks the same. Only difference is they literally said, man, look, you're gonna upcharge that tuition. That's all they, I don't know why. So your tuition is already $12,000, which is $6,000 a semester. I rounded it. It's pretty much $6,000 a semester. And this is for the 2025, 2026. I don't even know what their 2026 to 2027 prices are going to look like. I don't know. But this is 2025 to 2026. So if you're watching this right now, or you watch this when your upcoming semester comes up, you're like, oh, okay. So now you know I put the year in it for you. Help you save money. So just know university prices are going up. They're not staying stagnant unless a policy comes out. So it's kind of accurate though. It says the average annual cost is $22,000. I don't, like I said, guys, I never know if that includes the meal plans and housing, but it's kind of accurate because right here it says for the year, it's about 27,000 or 28,000. Here's about the average annual cost is about 22,000. So you just got to divide that by what? 2 semesters. That's what you're going to get. Where's my phone? Phone, where are you? Oh, it's blending in. So the calculator, I'm gonna do the 28,000. So you're looking at about what? 14,000. Stay still, camera, phone, screen. 14,000. Looking at about 14,000 for 2 semesters. Now, guys, that includes what? Housing and food. If you know me, you listen to me. Don't stay on campus. Alabama is usually affordable, usually. So you just need to stay off campus, get you a little part-time job, full-time job, and go to school. You don't have to be in a rush. Take your time. I'm not going to ask you when you got your degree. You think I asked the doctor when I go to the doctor or the dentist? You think I asked them, oh, what year did you graduate from college? I say, oh, where did you study? They say, excuse me. I say, where did you go to college? Where did you graduate college? And if you say you did, and I'm about to walk up out of this office. So, yeah, guys. Oh, actually, yeah. It actually went up for some reason. I guess they said indirect costs, so they added some books, transportation, and actually it's 34,000. If you add this plus that, they said total direct plus indirect 34,000, 35,000 pretty much. How you doing? That's crazy. Off campus, they're saying off campus is more expensive than on campus. That is vaguely wrong, because if I stay off campus, my off campus budget, I wouldn't have this or that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I budget my own food. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you right now. I spend like 160. Like when I was in college, realistically, by myself, I would spend about 120 on groceries. 120. That's how much it is for the year. That's how much it is for the year. I don't know who is spending $5,316 on food and staying off campus, but not me. And I have a solid tone. And if you want to include restaurant food on top of that, so 120, I used to budget for a restaurant that's like takeout food, like, going to McDonald's, Burger King or something. I budget for that out of my check when I was working. That was about what? That was also about 60. I even increased and said it was 60. It probably was 40, but I'll say 60. So that was 60 a month. No, it was 120. It was 60 a check. So that would be 120 as well. So 120 plus 120 is what, 240. So I spent about almost 3,000 on food, but it wasn't like $5,316. People might say, well, the price is higher now. So it's still, you should always be lower. And remember, it's that simple, guys. Like, it's really that simple. Like, you're a college student. Don't try to live like you're a YouTuber or something who has millions of dollars. You're a college student. It's better than eating Roman noodles. Like, I was not eating Roman noodles in college. Definitely was buying a steak here and there. Just saying. But that's what you're looking at. And I'll get down to that ordeal about that price. Let's keep going. They said that the median earnings after 10 years being removed from college, you're looking at about 59,000. That is not, it's over the midpoint for 4-year universities, but it's not spectacular. Not for the money they're charging you to go there. So cost, remember, look, you see it's broken down by family income. Depending on your family income, that's how much your annual cost will be. As your family income is higher, that's how much you're going to pay that's how much you're going to pay for the year. Graduation rate, the graduation rate is 71%. See, average, like we said, they have an 86% retention rate, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. And they break down some more stuff. Students who transfer in, that should be a lot higher, but we don't always get what we want. The financial aid and debt, 35% of their students are pulling out federal loans. That's something to think about. They're pulling out federal loans to go there. So it must mean the University of Alabama probably does not have many resources for their students. Just saying. Because we looked at some bigger and better schools, they had more resources. So they have a 78%. If you go to University of Alabama, you have a 78% chance of making more than a high school graduate. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Remember, if you want to get the campus diversity, you should go to the institution and do a campus tour yourself. You should do a campus tour yourself if you want to know more about the university. If you want to get that real interaction and see how it is, always go in person. Make that trip. If you're in state, I'll be expecting you to make that drive and not flying out of state. Hopefully you're in state. Always go to school in state. So the University of Alabama has a 76% acceptance rate. I bet they do. And the University of Alabama has, like we said, the University of Alabama considers SAT, ACT, but they do not require them. Students who were admitted to the University of Alabama and enrolled typically had admission test scores in these ranges. They show you the ranges. It's such a lovely tool. Imagine if I had that in high school. What do I rate the University of Alabama? So I love to break it down to you guys real quick at the end. They charge about $12,000 for tuition, at least in the 2025-2026 school year. That's a lot of money. Remember, if it's $6,000 per semester, pretty much, if you round it in tuition alone, that does not include your fees. They saying your fee estimate is already $800. So in reality, it's probably close to $13,000, but I'm just say 12 to help you out. So remember, if you are a Pell Grant student, you're only going, if you are Pell Grant, if you pay out of pocket, there's even more of a reason why you should start at a 2-year. If you are a Pell Grant student, you get $7,000 for the year. So with you only having $6,000, because we rounded it. I said 6, saying it out loud. With you only having $6,000 per the semester, that one semester, your whole financial aid Pell is going to be gone in one semester. Gone for that year. Because what they're going to do, I don't know what the financial aid does. I don't know if they actually divide it up for you. I don't know if they just put it all in there for the year for you, depending on how much I don't know. But I know this, you ain't going to have much. Because they'll, 7,000 divided by 2, as I always say, is 3,500, unless they increased it to whatever they increased it to. But as far as I know, it's still the same. So you'll still be short. What you gonna get the other $2K, $3,000 from? The other $2,000, $3,000. What I'm saying is, I would not transfer here. I wouldn't transfer here because that's too much. It's gonna mess up my debt-free degree journey. I need to go to a school that can pay a loan. Pell can pay that off in cash. And then if Pell can't pay it off, then I can pay off the rest with my own money. Because I had an emergency fund when I was in college. I had an emergency fund. I worked. You have to work part-time or full-time in college nowadays. You cannot just sit back and chill. So what do I rate this school? If I was transferring to the school, which I wouldn't be transferring to the school, honestly, besides sports, this school is a terrible return on investment as well. Have a terrible return on investment. So $59K, and they're charging you, apparently, according to the school website, you know, if you want to use financial aid, but apparently I'm just going to keep it sweet. They're charging you like $35K. So $35K for 4 years, but most students graduate in 6. So 35,000 times 4 is $140,000. This is not worth $140,000 just for you to only be getting paid this potentially. Because if this don't work no more, if you don't get no financial aid no more, this is what you're looking at. This is what you're looking at. So no, I wouldn't go here. I should think University of Alabama is an F. Besides their football program, but that has nothing to do with us because we're normal. Literally. I'm going off, unless the college scorecard is wrong, I'm going off of that. So they are F. Never really cared too much about them, but I respect schools when they're doing good. I respect schools when I know about them. All I know, they produce a lot of football players, but they don't seem to be doing their part in making sure you save money in college. And they can always reach out and we can resolve that. That's all for tonight. We will be on tomorrow with no problem. Appreciate everybody showing up, showing love. And, you know, hopefully you got some out of this. Hopefully it was informational. I will put the timestamp in there once this fully uploads. It takes time to process. I will put that in the comment section. Please skip past this time frame because the video was muted. So thank you, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace, chicken grease.